What's up, everyone? Welcome to the CBR Show, and we are doing a special little series here. We're going to have a couple of interviews over the next few months, and our first one is going to be with Jordan Caiola. Did I say that right?
Nailed it.
We practiced and rehearsed that over and over again. I still almost botched it. Jordan is the lead singer and guitarist for the band Mo Lowda and The Humble, a Philadelphia indie rock band. Jordan, thank you so much for coming on and joining Bill and I today. How are you?
Good, man. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, we're a big fan of your music, and we want to do everything we can to help you guys get your word out. The big thing that you have going on right now is the new album is getting ready to drop on March 3rd, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, we kind of want to learn a little bit more about Mo Lowda and The Humble. And, you know, one of the things that we know that you get asked a lot is about your band name, and we're not going to get into that. We already know. Bill is a Mo Lowda and The Humble historian, and he's going to tell
Nice.
everybody how you guys came up with the name.
Mm-hmm.
The secret's out.
Yeah.
Sometimes I get things right, too.
But,
a lot of times I get things wrong.
That's a good historian.
So for those that don't know, Jordan is the lead singer. We have Shane Woods on the drums. Jeff Lucci is bassist and keyboardist. And then you also have Kirby Seibert. Did I say that last name right? He tours with you guys as well.
Yeah, he's a live member. Yep.
And you guys have a tour going on right now. You're supposed to be in Colorado next week, but there was an incident. Something happened. Tell us what happened, Jordan.
Yeah, kind of a fluke thing. There's no real cool story. I was coming off stage and sort of caught this janky, we can call it a step. It's not quite a step at a venue. I won't say which one. And just caught it wrong and twisted my ankle pretty badly. And, did the whole urgent care thing the next day. They splinted me up. I had to stay off it. We luckily got through that Florida tour, but I came home and after hopping up and down your stairs on one foot, 4 times a day to go to the restroom, you're like, I'm not doing this. We were going to fly out to those Colorado dates and then cram in a van with 4 of our best friends, this band called the Mammoths, and I just said, I can't do these dates. It's going to be too tough. Now I'm in the boot, I'm clunking around, got a little more mobility, and I'll be good for the spring. I'll be back on my feet and tapping those pedals. But yeah, it's been an adjustment. I've had to sit on stage.
Yeah, I think you should have. It would be really rock and roll if you had one of those knee carts that I always see people scooting around on, and you just had that. You scooted on the stage.
I had one on. Oh yeah, we played a cruise. So it happened like 3 days before we played a cruise, and a cruise might be the best place on the planet to be on an e-scooter. Every surface is flat. There's elevators. Everything's incredibly accessible. I was flying around that thing. Whee! And then the charm wore off once I got back to the cobblestone Philly streets. And
you got to pick it up. You got to hassle.
It's the whole thing. Yeah.
So you have the new album. It's going to be self-titled LP. It's going to drop on March 3rd. Right now you have the EP out with Coast is Waiting. Now, is the song O-O-Y-O or is it combined as one word?
It's OOYO, but it stands for Out on Your Own.
That was the next question.
Yeah, Out on Your Own. I've been really into. I'm always trying to think in terms of what intrigues people. You're writing for yourself always, but you also want to. What is there? Is there an itch that people need scratched right now? But I tried to name all these songs as a very, we'll call them clickable title. If I saw a song that's named like that, I'd be like, what the hell is that? And I'm going to click it, just to make something stand out. So we try to make all the titles really short and sweet or kind of draw you in with the wording of them. So I was like, I could have called it Out on Your Own, but I thought, it was a little cooler.
Yeah, I saw that. I was trying to figure it out. I was like, trying to sound it out, what it could be. So you got me with that hook. The other songs are Restive, Kaya, and Beach Town. Quick question: I saw that you have some Bruce Springsteen roots from your family. Listen to Bruce Springsteen as you grow up.
Stay with us.
And I'm wondering, Is that Thunder Road? Is there like a little Thunder Road theme to Beach Town there? In the
I
beginning,
think,
it kind of starts off a little bit similar.
yeah, I think I'm just drawn to that style of songwriting as I get older. I've written all the songs about myself. I've done the whole I'm sad, you're sad, we're sad, which I get people need that too. But I have been drawn recently to this sort of storytelling nature of songwriting, and I think putting out a solo album in 2020, I really leaned into that, and I think it's changed my writing a bit lyrically for this next Mo Lowda album, probably musically too. But yeah, I enjoy kind of, drawing from different people in my life and sort of making a composite or characters, that can feel every bit as real, you know, as an experience that you went through on your own.
And with that, the song Kaya, it talks about wetlands, swamplands. Is there a specific person or story that you're referencing with that song, or is it something
Yeah,
special that you want to share or not share?
sure. Yeah. Kaya is written fully inspired by the book Where the Crawdads Sing. It's a really big book, really beautiful. I listened to it on Audible in one shot on one really long drive. When I was moving my girlfriend up to Philly at the time, ex-girlfriend. And that story just rocked me. And, a couple of days later, I started writing that guitar line, and everything that came out was just all about that and kind of painting that picture. So I kind of wrote it from one of the characters' standpoints in the book, from their point of view. And it was a really fun exercise, too, to try and take that story and sort of put it into 8 lines, because there's really only like 8 or 9 lines in that whole
It's funny
song.
you say that, because when I was listening to it, that's what came to mind. Because that book, and then I believe they made a movie out of it. It was a big discussion over our summer vacation. So I was like, it sounds kind of similar to that. As I was wondering what it was, and look, there it was.
There it is.
Lo and behold.
Right.
Lo and behold.
Lo and behold.
The you talked about some of your inspirations and some of the things that you draw from with the album. But what are the things that you guys would like to see your fans get from your new album? What is the one thing you want them to take away from it?
I think we just always are trying to grow. If you listen to all 4 of our albums, there's an evident change in each one. I think it'd be kind of hard to mix up what songs are on what album, honestly. Maybe it's just because I'm so connected to them. But we always try to bring something new. The whole thing with this album was when COVID happened and lockdown happened, we had just released our 3rd record, Ready Coat, like literally 8 days prior. We were about to tour it. We were about to do the whole U.S. thing. And, of course, everybody had those tours canceled. Everybody was in the same boat. But it was like, all right, now what do we do? Get back in the studio and write another album? I was still very much living in that world of that album. I didn't want to go in and write a bunch of B-sides to it. I wanted to give it its space. When you go out and you tour that album, you get to see the people interacting with it. You start playing songs differently. You start thinking of them differently, and you get to experience that album and mark it as a chapter in your career and your life. We didn't get to do that with that one, so I wasn't ready to go back in and write any Mo Lowda songs. I don't think I wrote a Mo Lowda song for 8 months. I just worked on the solo one, got all those songs out, kind of in a different lane, a little more acoustic, a little more folky. And then once we were back in it, we were kind of ready to go, and it was this sort of newer sound that was no longer just, trailing off of the previous album.
Quick follow-up to that. The new songs that you wrote during COVID, was it that much more thrilling to play them and see them succeed? Or maybe even like a stand-up comedian almost, you weren't able to work them. It was almost like a stand-up comedian going out there the first time and trying his jokes. Here's these songs I wrote. Do people like them? Are they going to resonate?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, there's 2 answers there. It felt unbelievable to play those songs live, having not been out there on the road for a while. And the payoff is just, I can't even put it into words. On the other side of that, the last 2 albums especially are kind of, we've sort of made them in the studio and in the writing process, and then we kind of reverse engineer them to play them live. Our whole kind of motto is like, if if a song is a good song, we will be able to make it translate live. I don't want to write something that I'm banking on the live feeling. I'm banking on that big drop. I'm banking on that moment where everybody goes nuts live. That doesn't always translate to, when you're on an airplane listening with your eyes closed, on headphones. I just want to make beautiful things for people to listen to and to connect with, and then they will in turn really want to see that live, and hopefully we deliver on it.
I know that's how I got introduced to your music. You guys were an opening act for, I think, Mount Joy right before
Sure.
right before the pandemic. I think I saw you guys in Baltimore. You guys
Baltimore,
came
Rams Head.
Yeah, it was Rams Head, and I was like, you guys put on a hell of a live show, and I was like, I got to check these guys out. I put on the music, similar but different, like the albums, they sounded very similar. Your live show was a lot of energy, and
Sure.
that kind of drew me in. And then listening to your albums, you guys are really talented. And then
Thank you.
here we are being able to interview you and help promote your music. With that, out of these albums and songs that you take to play live, is there like one or two songs that you will always play live that you just feel really, hold its weight on both sides as like the album and as a live performance?
Definitely. Yeah, there's certain staples in our set where we're like, you're writing the set list every night and you're like, are we going to cut that one tonight? No, we're not cutting that one. It's just always, it's going to be a moment in the set. And, there's people that have seen us, 5-10 times, and I bet you there's certain songs they've never missed, or that we've never, left out. 6-7 is one. It's off our second album called Creatures. For whatever reason, it's just like a really organic rock song that just feels really, really good to play live. People love shouting that chorus. I'd say New Tide is another one that we really love playing. We just kind of jam the ending, and it's always been one of our more played songs that we really, connect with still and really like playing. And then Curse the Weather, I think we've always played.
You gotta play that.
Like a high energy. You gotta drop that one at some point.
I think
What's your favorite song to cover? Oh, sorry, Bill.
I think some people come with that song in mind. I'm guessing, like, I can't wait to hear Curse the Weather. Anyway, what's your favorite song to cover?
Totally. Oh, we've been playing this Buzzcock song for years. Why Can't I Touch It? It's this fun, simple little, like, the lines just keep sort of repeating, but it's Why Can't I Touch It? Or sorry, Feels So Good. I can see it. I can feel it. I can hear it. It's so incredibly simple, and it's just this really fun song to play. And then we do jam it a bit, and people are always like, what was that one song you played that I didn't recognize? I'm like, I'd love to tell you about it. It's called Why Can't I Touch It by Buzzcocks, and it's so much fun to play.
That's awesome. I mean, that's what it's all about, right? Having fun while you're up there.
Definitely.
Let's see. Let's see. What do I have here for other questions for you guys? When you guys got started, right? And Bill has a question for you about your first instrument, Bill.
Oh, you got your first guitar at 13. You still have it?
I do. Hold on, let me grab it.
Oh, here it is. Awesome. Does it have a name?
We'll call it G because it's got a big G decal right there.
Nice. Awesome. There it is.
That's the one that got it all started.
Yeah, that's the one.
I imagine that helps
sat down. I was thinking about this the other day. I probably sat down on it and played like Mr. Jones or something.
Nice.
Hey,
that was my go-to in 8th grade.
Speaking of songs, or I guess like 90s music, it might have been early 2000s. You guys did a reel on Instagram. I just so happened to catch it a while back, and it was all about Third Eye Blind. You got to fill me in because I hate to say it. I mean, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but I loved that album.
I love Third Eye Blind, man. It's a weird, dumb bit that we get bored on the road. I don't know why it started, but the whole bit is that you're only allowed to listen to Third Eye Blind in our tour van, and I walk up on Jeff listening to Radiohead, and I call him on it, and I turn to Shane, I say, he's out, man, like he knows the rule, and then it cuts to us pulling away, and he's in the rear view, left behind at a rest stop, and we're jamming to how's it going to be or something. I don't know why it started, and we'll get comments on it. They're like, what's wrong with
That's
Third Eye
great.
Blind? I'm like, nothing is wrong with Third Eye Blind. Just
That,
having fun here.
that's what I couldn't tell. I couldn't tell if you
Yeah.
loved them or hated them. And then I think people were commenting, and I was commenting on there of like doing different covers because like God of Wine and
Oh yeah.
what's the there's a couple at the end of the CD to date myself a little bit, popping that CD in, and I think kind of like side note, but I think that with streaming music, people miss out on that. Like I used to get an album and pop it in and like hate the first couple songs, and then fast forward like 3 months later, and those songs I hated in the beginning are the ones that I love. And kids these
Totally.
days can just skip ahead and do whatever, and
Let's
they're
talk
missing out
about
on so much.
let's talk
I
about
agree.
flow. I've heard two of
Yeah.
the members from your band, you included, I believe, talk about album flow, and I was just wondering, how difficult is it to make an album flow, and what are some of your favorite non-Mo Lowda albums of flow? So obviously the first one's about you guys, so
Oh
let's go with
man.
that one first.
No
Yeah,
pressure,
yeah.
no
You
pressure
try
at
to make
all
it
on that
flow.
question.
Well, sequencing is like one of my favorite parts of putting together an album. I love that process, and kind of as the songs start coming, I can start thinking what songs go back to back really nicely. How I know how they end and how they start. And this album, we've really focused on sort of painting over that little transition each time. So it really does it's one thing.
Love
But
it.
so we are friends with this band called Illiterate Light. But aside from that, I'm a massive fan of those guys. Their first album absolutely rips, and then they just put out a new one in January. We're actually touring with them. They're on this album tour with us. But I just listened to it front to back the other day, and I thought we had our transitions down. These guys, like it blows your mind. It just absolutely seamless, like they were all written in one sitting. The way they flow into each other, it's really beautiful. So that one, I've always loved. I mean, there's like Fleet Foxes albums I've just front to back so many times. I'm a huge fan of Local Natives. That first album, especially Gorilla Manor, they don't go crazy with the transitions, but it's like one of those albums where I've listened to it front to back so many times that you hear one song end and you just immediately hear that other one starting. And when it's played on its own, sometimes you're like, oh, all right, oh, that's okay. I
Where's
was
that next?
expecting the
What's the next
song.
track?
Like,
I
we
used to
got
have
it,
that
yeah.
with the Blinds
It's like
album.
listening to Heartbreaker without Living, Love, and Made. You don't do it. It's illegal. Go to jail for
It's
that.
illegal. Not in the van. Not in
Not
the
in the
van.
van. That's
Speaking of being
purely
on the
Third Eye
road in the
Blind.
slug, listen to Third Eye
What,
Blind,
are
and
you
I
guys
heard. Go, Murph.
jumping back to Third Eye Blind? Are you guys ever going to do a Third Eye Blind cover at one of the
Yeah.
concerts?
I don't know, man. Trying to think which one we might do.
I mean, you guys
I
could
don't
put your own
know.
sound to it, and I think it would be pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Let's
I
take
mean,
it back
that
out on
band
the
had some
road
great
here.
songs.
You're on the road in the slug, and you're driving
But,
around from place to place, and you
When
don't
when
necessarily.
you guys got started,
Am I? Can you hear me? Can you guys hear
oh,
me?
Bill,
Oh,
yeah,
we lost you there
you
for
were
a second.
you're fading a little bit.
Oh, I'm back.
It's that conscious shock in the internet.
All right, go ahead. Or should I go with the slug thing? You're on the road and you're traveling from town to town, and you didn't always have a place to stay, correct? And what would you guys do on stage?
Yeah,
Would you
we
ask?
used to quite literally just ask the crowd, "Hey, we don't have anywhere to stay tonight. If you've got couches, beds, we are respectful gentlemen,
That's
and
amazing.
we'd really appreciate it." And we ended up meeting some really amazing people. That was when we were, in our mid-20s, and now we're all in our 30s, and we're like, "Oh, hotel, cool, all right, hotel."
Anything
You
crazy
can't
happen?
quite rough it. We've had some interesting stays.
Nothing you can talk about?
I don't know about the craziest. It just sometimes you find yourself. We do this game on the way home. Like we usually have a straight shot, like 15 to 20 hour drive home at the end of a tour, unless it's perfectly routed back. We play this game to pass the time, which is I'm thinking of a person we met over the entirety of this tour, and everyone else has to 20 questions guess it. And we
Right.
meet some crazy people, so it's always like, oh, that dude in that, whatever.
That's
The
great.
grocery store, who would, there's always some characters. And then we're always like, okay, do we just meet the craziest people, or do we meet so many people that just by the numbers you're going to meet a bunch of crazy
sheer
ones?
numbers.
Because
It's a numbers
we
game.
meet thousands of people. It's definitely a numbers game. There's some nutty ones. There's some amazing ones.
Well, when you talk about touring, what is your? Sounds like meeting all the people is one of your favorite things on the tour. But what is one of the worst things about touring?
Oh man, it can be exhausting. Loading out the gear till after the merch table shuts down and everything, you load out the gear at 12:30. Get to the hotel 1:30 unless we're staying out at bars, and then you might have a 7-hour drive the next day that you have to get up for at 8 or 9 a.m. It can feel like a grind. There are definitely parts that I would not recommend this to everybody. Not everybody's cut out for it. I mean, there are people that can't even do like the tour bus tours where you have a bunk and
Yeah.
it's definitely grueling. I've had my brushes with losing my voice on the road, obviously injuries. It's not an easy path always, but I don't know what else I would be doing. This is it for me.
Does all that I guess fatigue and stress kind of go away the minute the lights come on and the crowd starts cheering? It's got to be a huge adrenaline rush.
Worth it.
No doubt.
To be up there.
No doubt.
You were talking about your van. I recall seeing a story on one of your social media things that your van got stolen. Was it last year or the year before?
It was our first tour since COVID.
All your stuff was in there, and
the merch was.
Yeah,
merch was. Thank God our gear wasn't, because we wouldn't have gone on that tour.
Yeah. What was the outcome of that? You guys got the van back, right? Tell us the story.
We didn't get the van back, but we got insurance money, and we a bunch of our fans and family and friends banded together and did a GoFundMe, and we were able to buy a new van within that 4 or 5 day window before we went on tour.
Wow,
Literally got that van,
awesome.
bought it, drove it back, loaded it up, and left. It was crazy. We had to cancel. What did we have to cancel? Maybe a couple shows because I, in tandem, got COVID the night before we were supposed to leave for our first tour.
God.
Since COVID, one of those moments where I just could not believe it. So I guess it was a 10-day window, because at that time they were saying 10 days. So in 10 days, I guess 3 days later, I'm in bed sick, and I get a text from Jeff or Shane, in the group, did someone move the van?
Oh.
Someone moved it across the river to Camden illegally.
Yeah.
So the van never came back, and
they found it the day we got the check for the insurance money. So at that point, it's theirs now. Yeah. They own it, but they found it that day. So we might have been screwed with 2 vans.
So when you see
what about the merchandise?
That ain't coming back.
Yeah, when you see,
so somebody's out there bootlegging your stuff?
That's what I'm saying. Do you not trust anybody that's wearing your shirt now? When you see somebody in your shirt in the Philly area at a concert, you're like, you didn't buy that, or did you? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Where's my van?
Exactly. At the very least, what do they say? Any press is good press, or somebody wearing your shirt is a walking billboard. So if all these criminals are rocking Mo Lowda gear, at least we might get some Spotify streams out of it.
Right.
There you go. Yeah, I just feel like I'm going to be driving through the outskirts of Philadelphia, and there's just going to be this corner shop set up with a table. They're going to be selling the Waters and Mo Lowda shirts at the intersections.
Sell pretzels and roses.
That's a good business model.
There you go. You guys should do a music video with that. It's just someone selling your merchandise.
Oh, that'd be good.
The song is all about your merchandise missing. So you were talking about being on the road and the stresses of being at the road, but what about when you first got started? How did your parents and your family take it when you told them hey, this is what I'm going to do professionally. I'm going for it. Because so many people are skilled, musicians, and then you got to mix songwriting in there, and you guys do the production. You guys pretty much do everything, but it's even from that group, it's even smaller number that gets to tour, and be at the level you guys are. and then aspire to be, maybe you guys will be opening up the Grammys one day. And Bill and I can tell the story of how we got to at least interview you one time.
Yeah.
I hope. Fingers crossed. Yeah, we were lucky to have very supportive families. But we always had the number one thing, piece of advice I give to musicians who are asking how to start touring. I say, you cannot have a 9 to 5. You can't. Like, if you're going to do even the long weekend stuff, serving jobs are great, studio jobs are great, whatever you can do. We just did everything we could do to make it work. I worked in my hometown at the Parks and Rec department, mowing soccer fields. We'd leave on little 2-3 week tours. And that's another, you don't just start with a 2-month tour. First of all, no one's going to know you out there. You kind of have to just start, and being out of Philly, it was easy to just do New York and Boston, and then do Charlotte, Charleston, and then do, slowly cycle outward, because of where we were geographically. So I think that kind of was the way that we just sort of started off. We all got our college degrees. We all graduated from Temple. So my parents at least knew I had a fallback.
That's true.
And I told myself, I'm going to get my degree and then I'll try this, That was important to me.
What was that first moment where you knew that you had it made?
I don't know if I don't know if I had that moment yet.
You know what I mean? Where you were like, this is where this is my career. This is what I want to do. Like that moment where you knew you had a shot at least making a go at it.
Yeah, I think it was after college because I guess junior and senior year of college, we started kind of being the popular band on campus. Like people wanted us playing their house shows, and I think we sold out, a little 200 cap room in Philly, probably before we graduated from college. So that's when I was like, okay, people care about what we're doing here. Let's see how far we can stretch it, out of this city.
Speaking of city, Bill, I think there's a little bit of a delay, but speaking of the city, you guys went to Pennsbury High, right? The Falcons. Do you know Zachary Woods?
Zachary Woods.
I did some research on your high school to see famous alumnus, and they said that the guy from Silicon Valley, the one, I don't know if you watch Silicon Valley.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The guy that plays Jarrett is from Pennsbury High.
There's a couple. There's who's the guy? What is his name? There's an older actor too. He's in all kinds of stuff.
Richard Kind.
You recognize his voice? Yes, Richard Kind.
Yeah.
He's a Pennsbury guy. So Pennsbury's whole thing was like they have like the #1 prom in America. Like John Mayer played it in the early 2000s.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. Yeah, there's a whole book about it. How the student body president, who's also a famous alumni, he's a co-responder or an analyst on a big news network. But just about how he just like relentlessly tried to get John Mayer to play prom, and it ended up coming through. But yeah, that's what Pennsbury hangs their hat on there.
I think we just had a DJ at my high school prom. Yeah. Bill is actually going to a 70s prom in Conshohocken. I keep saying it wrong.
Conshohocken, baby.
Prom? Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, you should come. Be my date. No, I'm kidding. Ryan. Oh, man, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, aren't you going to hack the Wikipedia and add these two gentlemen from Mo Lowda to Jordan and
yeah, so that is my mission for the rest of the week, is that I was disappointed that they didn't have you guys on there. They had a bunch of musicians that I had never heard of, and I was like, they didn't have you guys on there, so I'm going to go on there this week and add you guys, you and Shane, as famous alumnus from Pennsbury High, the Falcons. So
while you're at it, make the band a Wikipedia too, because I don't think we have one either. But I swear, it's a running joke. Like, I think most bands make their own Wikipedias. That's just the truth. Like, we played with bands. I'm like, I don't know if anyone knows this band. I don't know if their parents know they're in a band, but they're on Wikipedia.
Hey, well, full disclosure, I've never Wikipedia'd anything, so it might not go 100%, as planned. But I'll try my best. I
trust you.
I got a question.
Well, Go ahead, Bill. Bill's got a bunch of good questions. I was waiting for him to jump in.
Yeah, I tried to talk, and I guess it's like you can't even wait a millisecond. You guys, as Murph mentioned, produce your own music, and I would imagine that's a huge way to. Well, you tell me how producing your own music helps the process.
I mean, just absolute control, for better or worse. Sometimes having another party in there will change your sound for the best. But the way I look at it, I work with two producers every single time I make a record. Having us three in there, Shane, Jeff, and I, everybody comes from sort of a different background. Everybody's worked on all different kinds of stuff, and it's really a cool process and conglomerate of, I think, all our respective skills. The workflow is amazing. It's unbelievably rare that we're at like a standstill or a point of contention. Everybody has their ideas, but everybody has so much trust for each other at this point. And then it's really fun to like pick, and those guys mix it too. It's really fun for me to, while I'm making a song, be like, oh, Jeff's going to mix the hell out of this one. Or, oh, this is right up Shane's alley. They have their kind of own styles with mixing as well, which is really fun to kind of delegate. If you ask them that question, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. They put in a lot of hours on the mixes. I put in a lot of hours on the writing, so it all kind of works out, and we just do an even split with the royalties, which also just works out. But, not bringing anyone else in on it, is there a time maybe where we do feel a little stuck and we're like, is this even cool? Are we spinning our wheels here? Are we being a little self-indulgent? But I think at the end of the day, we're making music that we want to listen to, and you just got to hope that other people are on board with it too.
That's cool. And yeah, I like when you said if we ever feel like we're in a rut, writer's block or whatever, then get a producer. Get Rick Rubin to be like, it's not quite right. That's his method. It's not quite right. You know that Rick Rubin, that's basically what he does. Fix the end.
That's what he does. Fix the end. Right. He's like, now where's my other pair of basketball shorts?
Yeah, I've got two more questions.
And then the comfiest producer of all time.
So your live shows, as a band that likes to deliver live, is it tempting when you're writing songs in the studio to leave out things that might be difficult to do live? Does that make sense? Or is it like, no, we're going to make it sound as good as it can, and we're going to figure out a way to deliver live?
We usually, like I said, we kind of reverse engineer them. We make them in the studio. We write them in kind of a closed environment, and then we just learn to play them live, which is actually, I have rehearsal in 3 hours, and we're doing just that with some of the new songs. You definitely have to make choices. What's right for the song versus can we actually do this? There are certain songs that don't quite work out live as well. I think there's maybe one song we've ever put out that we've only played one or two times. Aside from that, we've played them all. And that's the plan, to we're doing 2 hometown shows when the album comes out, and we're going to play every song on it, no matter which way we have to play them. There's also options as far as which, you can strip a song down a bit. You can play sort of a different version of it. But yeah, you definitely have to be careful with what you end up adding. If you're just going to layer things on and then try to do it with a 4-piece band, sometimes you do run into trouble.
And then I'm hoping that you still have some cranberry bogs. I heard you got in the cranberry bog business. Is this true? Is this a Wikipedia?
No, I'm not familiar with this rumor. This is amazing. It
was in an interview. Maybe somebody was BSing.
Oh. All right, so
cranberry distribution.
I think that might have been said in sarcasm. I'm trying to think when that was. Great. I mean, I love it. I can only think that we were in Nantucket, so maybe it was a reference to Nantucket at some point.
That's great.
I
That
don't
does
know.
sound like something we would just make up.
We dig deep here at the CBR show.
I'm very impressed by the research.
Yeah. So here's my last question. It's not that deep. You guys have played the Peach Fest, the Mile of Music, Oscar Blues, Burning Can, and Hall & Oates Hoagie Nation Festival. I've never even. I want to go to that. What makes playing a festival cooler, different, better than playing a solo show or a show in a venue with just one other band opening or whatever?
Right. I mean, there's some like that cruise we just played. It's you have nowhere to go but on the cruise, so you're meeting every band that's on there. You're meeting a lot of people that go on the shows. Mile of Music is a similar thing in Wisconsin. They give all the bands 3 floors of the hotel. It's like summer camp for bands. I always love that kind of energy. I love meeting other musicians and just picking their brains and making friends that you're going to see out on the road and who understand the grind and understand what you're doing. As far as the bigger fests, like some of them just take amazing care of you, and it's just such a well-oiled machine, and that always blows my mind. Just the sheer, just how vast some of these operations are, and how much they care about their artists, no matter how big or small. We're still a baby band on a lot of these big fests, but they'll still give you a golf cart ride wherever you need to go. So they're pretty good.
Knee scooter.
Well, speaking of places that you the old leg scooter. Speaking of shows, what's the place that you guys really want to play, or is there a place? You think like Red Rocks is like the pinnacle.
Red Rocks is definitely that's the mecca. I feel like that's everybody's answer. I feel like we've started to play some of these rooms now that we've, when you're coming up, you're like, oh man, we'll be in that room one day. All my favorite bands play that room. Music Hall Williamsburg in New York. We just played Sinclair in Boston. I think we sold out. Those are a couple rooms that are in that kind of 400 to 600 step where it still feels intimate, but it feels like a real concert. You got the high ceilings, got the whole light show. I'm excited to play Lincoln Hall in Chicago. It's attached to a room called Shuba's. Just legendary spots that you can really feel the energy there. I love Chicago.
April 22nd, Lincoln Hall. Catch them with a literate light. April 22nd, Lincoln Hall, right?
Yes, sir.
There you go.
And you have, speaking of shows, you got your next show because of injury. The next show that you guys are going to be performing is March 17th, Charleston, South Carolina, at the Charleston Poorhouse.
Yep.
And then you've got 2 shows to celebrate the album in Philadelphia. They are both sold out. So Bill and I will be scouring Ticketmaster verified sales to see if we can get in there. And that's at Johnny Brenda's. That place looks like a pretty cool venue.
Johnny Brenda's is great. Yeah.
Home base for you guys?
250 cap. Oh yeah, we're there hanging all the time, even if we're not playing. I live, an 8-minute walk from Johnny Brenda's, so it's really fun to have all the friends out for those shows.
Walk to work. You get to walk to work.
There you go.
And then you wrap up March at the Southern Cafe Music Hall in Charlottesville. So that was our tour plug for you for the next couple dates. The rest of the stuff can be found on your website, which is molowda.com. And if they want to follow you for Third Eye Blind references and tour and I guess travel antics, that's at Mo Lowda or at Mo Lowda on Instagram. I'm sure Facebook is the same.
Yep.
And then I don't know. Do you guys TikTok? TikTok's the new thing.
We're trying, man. I don't know. I feel
can't figure it out either.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It just starts playing every time I turn it on. And then lastly, we want to make sure that everybody picks up your new self-titled album that's dropping on March 3rd. How many songs, before we go, how many songs are going to be on the finished product?
12. It's the first time we've ever done more than 10. 12, yeah.
And what's, no pressure here, but what's your favorite song on the album?
I'd say either the first one or the last one. They're both kind of longer, sort of, I don't know, they have these crazy trajectories, very, very progressive, and kind of take a lot of left turns. One's called Finally / Bet the House, and then the last one's called Dog at the Pound. Those are probably my two favorites.
So those are two that you can't stream right now.
Yeah.
Can't stream them yet. No singles. Yeah.
Got to keep people waiting and wanting
my favorite
more.
of the singles, I'd say I love Beach Town. Beach Town's a really fun one.
Good song.
Restive.
And listen to your music when it drops. Spotify, Apple Music, all the streaming platforms. If they want to pick up a copy of vinyl, do you guys sell vinyl on your?
Oh yeah, we have a bunch of. You can pre-order the new one, and then I think we have some Ready-Coat copies out there as well. But the vinyl pre-orders is like 8 different bundles. You can bundle it with T-shirts, sweatshirts, handwritten lyrics. There's all kinds of stuff on our site.
I saw the handwritten lyrics. I got to ask: that's actually you guys scribed it out from when you guys are working? How many of those?
I just write them as I go. I'll just if we get an order for one, I write it out and I sign it. So it's not the original copy, but it is in my handwriting, and it makes for like a good gift. Or if you want to frame that and give it to somebody, I think people dig stuff like that.
Yeah, that's really cool. So when you guys are playing Red Rocks, somebody can say, "I got a handwritten."
There you go.
I got handwritten lyrics. Bill, you got anything else for Jordan?
Oh man, it was a great time. Thank you so much for coming. And I think I might try to come out to. Well, I'm definitely gonna try to come out to Johnny Brenda's. I'm loving the new the 4 tracks you've released so far. People can listen to those right now. Restive OOVO. Really good. Those are the two that stick out to me. But as I go and I listen to the album flow, the more will stick out to me. But those two are awesome. So go check out the album on Spotify, wherever you get your music.
Thank you, guys.
All right, thank you, Jordan.